Hi, Griffins, and welcome to Coach's Corner, where I sit down and talk with different faculty members and students from our community to see how they've been doing since we've been away from school during the coronavirus. Keep watching to see who I talk to today. Hi, Griffins. I'm here today with Headmaster Heisman to see how he's been doing since we've been staying at home with the coronavirus. I'm going to see what he's up to, what life's been like while he's there, and if he has any words of advice for us, as we continue to stay home in this time. So, let me bring in Mr. Heisman. Hello, Mr. Heisman, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Coach. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. I mean, this colder weather's wreaked havoc on my allergies as it goes up and down. But other than that, I can't complain.
Cold. You're a wimp.
As long as I've lived in warm weather, if it goes under 70, I don't know. I'm meant to be in a tropical climate or something.
Yeah. You should have grown up in the Midwest.
Funny thing is anytime it snowed in Oklahoma, I was just the biggest baby. Like, it was just a little bit of snow, and I didn't want to go outside. So thank goodness. So I love San Antonio. All right, so this is my first ever interview with someone from the school done via Zoom. So I'm really excited to have you as the headmaster to join me today. I just want to say that I really thank you for all the efforts that you've given to me and to the rest of the faculty in this pandemic, this new time that we have, this unprecedented time where we're staying at home so much. The way that we've transitioned to educating our kids from home has been difficult for me, and you and the other administrators have really guided us well and taught us well. So I'm really thankful for all your leadership and efforts in that area.
Thanks for saying that, Brandon. That's very helpful. It's part and parcel of the job. It's not ideal. None of us signed up to do screen-based learning. We signed up to interact with real people and pursue real things in a real building. But we can't control this, and this is part of reality. A pandemic happens historically. It's part of reality, and we as educators have to do our part and still be available for our people and for our students. So this is part of the duty, and it's an honor. So I'm thankful that you said that.
Speaking of these unprecedented times and staying home so much, for people like us who go out and work a lot, it has been quite a shock. Although I have a friend who stays at home and works since we got out of college, and I talked to him the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I was really worried about you because you're such a people person." So I wonder, Mr. Heisman, if while we've been staying home for so long, if there's anything that you found kind of shockingly enjoyable, like something that you've been like, wow, I didn't think I would like this, but this is really nice.
Yeah, that's a good question. This may come as a surprise to you and my students, given the frequency of my clumsiness in the classroom, but I'm not much of a handyman. And my projects tend to come out just a little bit skewed. When I use the wall mount and when I use the level, I think I've got a straight line for the bookshelves that I'm about to install. You can see some back there. I usually end up 3/4 of the way through and it's slightly tilted and I got to restart. It takes me 3 times as long as it would take any other normal adult male. But I have been enjoying putting some things together. This is a pretty simple project. Oh, geez. This is a pretty simple project, but getting to mount the guitar on the wall. You don't need to see my spare closet. I got to repair my record machine the other day and redo some rubber bands and try to make sure the timing was right. As avid vinyl listeners will let you know, it spins 33 and a half times per minute. So making sure the rubber bands are on there just right so that timing maintains the integrity of the music is kind of a fun challenge. Huh. And then I didn't expect to enjoy this, but I kind of enjoyed setting up my wireless printer that I bought the other day because not apparently, because we're gonna have to homeschool our children for the next 6 weeks. Not homeschool. The lower school's been putting in a lot of hard work. We're gonna have to facilitate their hard work. So we bought a printer, and I enjoyed setting that up. So I guess working with my hands, doing some landscaping. I've always enjoyed reading, and I've been reading a lot. Been working a lot, been prepping a lot for these next slow phases of distance learning. But the thing that I didn't expect to enjoy as much was working with my hands outside and inside.
Well, I can honestly say I haven't done a lot of working with my hands. My wife probably wishes I had done a little more. I did help set up the printer, though, so I'm glad that you pointed. That was actually challenging for me, the Wi-Fi stuff. I couldn't figure out.
Right.
But that's because I have 2 different networks, and I was on the wrong one. But anyway, well, thank you for that. All right, I want to shift to something a little bit more serious. It's something that I've given some thought to. Actually, reading a book that you recommended to me back at the beginning of the year. So, one of the dangers we face in this new normal, like Mr. Ellison called it, is the possibility for slothfulness. So I'd like to ask you, what is slothfulness, or what is acedia is another word for it, sloth. What are the dangers that we face currently because of that, or tending towards that? And then how can we as a community, the Griffin community, how can we combat that tendency towards slothfulness in these times?
Yeah. I'll stick with calling it slothfulness. Acedia has some overtly religious overtones, which aren't bad, but I think sloth is a word that everybody has heard and everybody has encountered and struggled with. If I were to distill it, I think sloth is actually a lot more prevalent than we realize, and it's experienced in different ways. Often when you hear that word, you picture the animal, or you picture yourself maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago when you weren't maybe your best self, just sitting on the couch doing nothing. Or you picture the sloth just hanging from the branch and doing nothing. I don't know that sloth is just a state of inactivity. I think sloth is a rejection of goodness, a rejection of the goodness of reality and of the norms in reality, right? That, for example, there's a movement in the health coaching world that says if your mindset is correct, you can change the reality outside you. If you think warm thoughts, you can go out in an Arctic blizzard in a swimsuit and be warm. That's a rejection of a norm of reality. That is a rejection of a norm of reality. That's not part of nature that we get to control. So to tie that back to sloth, sloth is a refusal to celebrate reality and a refusal to acknowledge the goodness of reality and the norms, the boundaries of reality. In a time such as this, I'm not sure if I'm getting ahead of you, Brandon, but in a time such as this, it could be really easy to succumb to sloth and ignore certain obligations that you have to your family or community or to yourself. It could be really easy as a professional to say, I'm only going to do the minimum. And regardless of what my career is, I'm only going to do the minimum because nobody's watching. Or another form of sloth, it's not just inactivity. It could be, I'm going to focus on the one obligation that I'm really comfortable with, and that's work. And I'm going to throw myself into it. And I'm going to ignore the other obligations I have, my kids, my family, checking in on my 69-year-old father in Ohio. I'm going to ignore that goodness. I'm going to ignore the goodness of that obligation and just focus on the one that makes me feel comfortable. So sloth isn't just a state of inactivity. It's a rejection of of the norms that reality has given us and imposed upon us. And by norms, I mean laws and rules, right? As a son, you have obligations to your father. As a headmaster, I have obligations to my families, parents, kids. I have obligations to my faculty, teachers, and operational staff. And I have obligations to the Great Hearts Network and to the great state of Texas. I have to not reject those. I have to celebrate those. So sloth is a refusal to be it explicit. You're actively saying, I refuse to celebrate and acknowledge reality, or implicit. I'm just going to not acknowledge, or you can, by your actions, indicate that you're not acknowledging it, even if you're not as conscious of that lack of acknowledgement. Sloth does not celebrate the goodness of reality and the bonds that tie us to the things around us.
Wow. So you use the word celebrate a lot, and I can see that a lot of our students that are watching, they may struggle with that idea of celebrate in these current times. So I'm wondering, what is it that they can do? And when you say celebrate, what do you mean specifically? And then how can our students, in turn, combat that slothfulness by celebrating those realities around them right now? What does that actually look like for them?
That's a great question. It's a great question. And when I use the word celebrate, I don't mean that we're just throwing parties all the time. Right? To celebrate is to see something as it is and to acknowledge its goodness. And to say it's worthy of respect. The proper celebration upon seeing a beautiful flower is to look at the beautiful flower and smell its fragrance. That's a celebration. That's an act of celebration. Upon reading something excellent, the proper act of celebration is to contemplate it, is to inquire further of its mystery. An act of celebration with your siblings, maybe just acknowledging that. Let's see, I had a wonderful moment with my son. I don't know how old you were, Mr. Hunt, when Razor scooters, those scooters with rollerblade wheels, came out. I was 14 or 15, and my little sister had one, and of course I stole it and went and messed around with it. But we just got my son one, and he fell and he skinned his elbow. I think the proper celebration there was to pick him up, acknowledge that hard things come in contact with soft surfaces, and we regrow, we get better, we rejuvenate. But the important thing is to learn how to steer a little bit better next time. But we survive. We survive. Is to see the goodness of that moment and find a way to acknowledge it. It's not necessarily throwing a party every time, because remember, celebrating is seeing the goodness and the reality of a specific moment and affirming it, saying, yes, that is good, or that is worthy of love, or that is something real. So you see the goodness of a certain situation. I realize I'm using the same word in different contexts, but and you acknowledge it. You have the proper response towards it.
Oh, that's good. I think that helps a lot. I also just bought my children scooters, and it's been delightful to watch them learn. My youngest is not my youngest. I guess he's 9 months now. But my 3-year-old Vincent, he falls a lot. So you reminded me of that. So speaking of finding good in things, one thing I know you to be a man of is you have very good tastes. You eat a lot of good food, and you don't go sparingly. You've eaten a lot of different things. I think one of the first times we ever went out was at Dresden,
oh man,
a German restaurant, and man, I missed that place, but it was so good. So I wonder, in this time at home, where we eat a little differently, is there any good food or any good recipes or anything that you've delighted in while we've been at home?
Sure. Yeah, let's let me descend the stairs and get over to the kitchen. One of our culinary adventures has been buying an Instant Pot.
Oh, those are awesome.
So we've been able to make some real wholesome oatmeal. But one of my personal favorite snacks has been finding different ways to spread this on things. It's a garlic and fine herbs gourmet cheese.
Huh.
It's been on sale at Costco for the last 3 weeks in a row, so I've been getting it quite often. And then my wife has adventured and made some awesome new meals. This is some orange balsamic glazed cabbage. We've really enjoyed that. Slaw, I guess you could say. But we've tried a couple things. We've tried Caribbean jerk chicken with some pickled onions. Sorry, I'm stepping over children on the stairway right now. It's their favorite reading spot. We've got chairs and desks galore, but they love to read on the stairs. Caribbean jerk chicken. I bought a Wagyu steak and read the instructions to figure out how to cook it, and they said it's going to have enough fine marbled fat to cook itself. Don't add butter or anything. Don't add olive oil or anything. But I ended up burning both sides. Some of the best, most succulent steak on the inside, but the fat all absorbed the flavor of charred burntness. Oh. Probably should have put it on the grill. I put it on the skillet. I'm a rube.
Well, I'm gonna have to stop there. We've ran past our time, but I really appreciate the time that you've spent with us, and some of the insights that you've shared. It's been very enjoyable. I mean, I do get the pleasure to see you every week in our faculty meeting, so I get to hear from you and talk to you a little more. But
sure,
to share this with the Griffin Nation, it has been it's another gift, just another way that you're continually giving of yourself. So I thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
And your words. So,
absolutely.
Do you have any last supporting words you'd like to say?
Sure. It's an honor to be able to share and be amongst you. And as I said at the beginning, this is not what any of us signed up for. We signed up to be in a building with each other and to be doing something together. And I miss that. There's nothing that takes the place of that. We have to acknowledge that. That's really, really difficult. But it's been an honor to serve you in this way and to figure out how to make it better and better as the weeks go on. Thank you for being patient with us as we continue to figure out how to serve you better. And I guess I'd leave you with this, right? If sloth is a refusal to celebrate reality, find ways to, right? If you have little siblings in the house, it's actually kind of a wonderful thing that your 2-year-old or 3-year-old brother or sister doesn't quite know how to tie their shoes. A proper response and celebration of that is to repeatedly help teach them to tie their shoes. A proper response to various other encounters. Maybe your mom or dad is just trying to homeschool. They're trying to work. They're trying to get lunch ready. If you have the means, if you have the strength and the coordination, get up there and make lunch. Get up there and make lunch. That's a celebration of this sort of reality. And I'd also say, look, if there are times when you find yourself feeling slothful and you know you're feeling slothful, look at the clock. Look at the clock a couple times when that happens, and notice if it happens again the other day. I would wager to say it's probably happening at the same time every day. And once you notice that, try to find a constructive activity to put there. Okay, at 12 o'clock, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a head start on lunch, or I'm going to start asking people what they want for lunch so I can prepare it. That's a way to combat it, and that's a way to celebrate also. I know you guys are going to do it. Griffins get their hands dirty, their talons dirty. Griffins get messy. Griffins do the job till it's done. All right. I miss you guys, and I cannot wait till next fall, till August 12th. I'm counting the days.
Me too. Thank you, Headmaster Heisman.
Absolutely. Bye, Mr. Hunt.
Bye. Well, that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us. If you liked this and want to see more videos, subscribe by clicking the button below, or check back regularly at our athletics page provided in the description. For now, this is Coach Hunt saying be safe and stay fit. I'll see you next time.